Ever feel like really sticking to your guns? You know,
Yeah.
those like core values that you really hold dear?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, walking through a minefield out there.
Yeah.
Well, buckle up because we're diving deep today
Okay.
into principles and hypocrisy.
All right.
This article,
Yeah.
it's intense. We're going to unpack why that's a good thing.
I'm intrigued how this piece flips the script
Okay.
on how we view principles.
Mm-hmm.
It's suggesting that they should be almost impossible to achieve.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we achieve.
Talk me through this.
Okay.
That feels a little counterintuitive.
It's highlighting the journey,
Okay.
not the destination.
Okay.
So it's that constant
Okay.
striving to embody those principles, and that's
Okay.
what really elevates us.
So it's less about
Yes.
checking off all the boxes on the list,
Mm.
and it's more about just
It's the
pursuit.
transformational power of the pursuit.
Yeah.
Think about it in your own life.
Yeah.
What are those goals that you have that really get you going, that you're like, yes, this is meaningful?
Right.
Even if it seems a little daunting,
Yeah.
that's the space
Okay.
this article wants us to explore.
Okay.
It's aiming for something that might seem out of reach,
Okay.
but it's the pursuit where the growth happens.
Okay. So I'm starting to see where they're going with this.
Okay.
But then the article takes this turn.
Okay.
It goes into hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And get this,
Yeah.
it doesn't totally shut it down.
And that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
It argues that falling short of our principles occasionally
Right.
doesn't invalidate them.
Yeah.
There's more there to unpack.
So not necessarily giving a free pass
Yeah.
for bad behavior, but more about
Yes.
the gravity of those principles.
You got it.
Okay.
It's like when someone stumbles in upholding a principle they advocate for,
Right.
it can actually underscore how important that principle is to them.
Okay.
So it's recognizing that complexity
Yeah.
of living up to these ideals.
And they give a really thought-provoking example
Yes.
about people in positions of power
Exactly.
being held to a different standard.
They argue that individuals in positions of influence,
Okay.
whether it's political, religious, or otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
should be held to a higher standard because their actions
Carry more weight.
Okay.
Their missteps should have greater consequences.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a powerful concept.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think about,
It does.
the balance of power and accountability here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
Oh.
Do you think there are situations where holding others to a higher standard is justified?
It's a question
Yeah.
that's really tough to answer.
It really is.
And it leads us to the next layer of this.
Okay.
How do we reconcile these lofty ideals
Right?
with living in a world that's messy?
Because let's be real,
Yeah,
the world is messy.
it is.
How do we apply these concepts?
Right.
When good and bad aren't so clear-cut.
The author grapples with this
Okay.
tension, this struggle
Yeah.
to reconcile this idealism.
With the pragmatism that's needed in the world.
Yeah. It's interesting how the article goes beyond, just the
Yeah.
theory of,
Yeah.
principles and hypocrisy and stuff.
Mm.
And it goes into the author's, personal experience
It does.
trying to apply this stuff, which I think makes it
Yeah.
more relatable.
Absolutely.
You get a sense of his internal struggle
Totally.
as he's trying to apply these concepts to his own life.
You can tell he's wrestling with it.
Right. And it's not just coming from some
Yeah.
ivory tower.
Right.
It's like
It's practice.
this is his lived experience.
Yeah, and I think that's where his perspective is really valuable.
Yeah.
Because he's very transparent about the fact that there's no easy answers,
Oh,
and
yeah.
navigating this complex reality
Right.
means making difficult choices,
Sure.
compromises,
Yeah.
operating in the gray area.
It's not about
Yeah.
achieving some kind of moral purity.
Right.
It's like we said earlier about the striving
Yeah.
to be better.
He talks about that tension
Okay.
between idealism and pragmatism.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay true to your values
Yeah.
when the path forward requires you to make compromises?
Right. Because
Or align yourself with groups that you might not totally agree with.
it makes you question your own assumptions.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
when is it okay to
Totally.
make a deal with the devil, so to speak,
Right.
to achieve a greater good?
It's a question I think we all grapple with.
Yeah.
And he doesn't offer any easy solutions.
Right.
But I think he encourages us to engage in this process of discernment,
Mhm.
weighing costs and benefits,
Right.
trying to strive for the best possible outcomes.
Right.
When right and wrong are not so black and white.
Yeah, that's a good point. it's not always black and white.
It's not.
It really isn't.
No.
And it makes it difficult sometimes to know what the right path is.
It does.
It resonates with me.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that we shouldn't shy away
Yeah.
from these tough questions,
Absolutely.
even if they make us uncomfortable.
And I think his willingness to be vulnerable about his own struggles makes it more powerful.
It does.
Because it reminds us that we're all human.
We are.
We're all trying to figure this out, this complex world.
Full of contradictions and complexities.
Yeah. And this brings us to that Dugan detour.
Yeah, the Dugan detour.
It threw me for a loop at first.
Me too.
But it's interesting.
I was like, whoa, are we going with this?
Okay, so for those who might not be familiar with Dugan's work, crash course.
Give it to us.
Alexander Dugin is a Russian political philosopher who advocates for a Eurasian empire, essentially a revival of a powerful Russia that stands in opposition to what he sees as the negative influence of the West, particularly American liberalism.
So he's got some
strong opinions.
Strong opinions, to say the least.
Yeah.
How does this tie back into principles and hypocrisy?
So Dugin's ideology, which kind of blends this nationalism and communism, is often labeled as national Bolshevism. And the author uses this as an example of how seemingly incompatible ideologies can find common ground when they have a shared enemy.
So the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Kind of. Right?
Interesting.
The author says he doesn't subscribe to that. But he understands how it emerged in Russia during this time of upheaval. It was less about like a coherent ideology and more about this strategic alliance out of necessity.
To combat a threat.
Yes.
So these groups, even though they have different principles,
very different,
they might work together.
They might find themselves.
If it serves their interests.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And this ties back into his own experience finding common ground
with groups he doesn't agree with?
Exactly. So it highlights that complexity of political action.
It really is complex.
And the compromises that people make.
When the stakes are high.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that the world isn't black and white.
It's not.
There are a lot of gray areas.
There are.
And sometimes you got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And maybe forge alliances.
Right.
You never thought you would.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It really makes you wonder.
It does.
Where we might find common ground.
Yeah, where we might be able to.
With people we disagree with on certain issues.
Yeah, come together.
Yeah.
To solve those issues.
To work towards a common goal.
That's a really good point.
And it's something that he doesn't give us all the answers to.
Right.
But it's a framework for thinking about these things.
Yeah, it helps you grapple with
it does.
The complexities.
It encourages us to be open to understanding different perspectives.
You know, it's interesting. As we've been going through this, the author's own journey kind of reflects these ideas.
In what way?
Well, he admits that his vision for the world, his set of principles, might seem impossible to achieve. Like fully achieve.
Yeah.
And yet he remains dedicated
to
striving for them.
Absolutely.
And it's that tension, I think.
I think so, too.
That's so important.
It underscores that it's not about expecting some utopian outcome. It's about having those values.
Right. It's about that belief.
That belief?
Yeah, and not just accepting things as they are.
It's that inner voice that says things could be better.
Yes.
Even if it seems really hard.
Even if the odds are stacked against you.
Right. And that's contagious.
It is.
That's what inspires us.
Yeah.
To hold on to our own principles.
Because if we don't, who will?
Exactly.
Right.
That's what fuels action.
Exactly. And that brings us to a question for you to ponder.
Right.
As we wrap up.
Okay, shoot.
This deep dive.
Yeah.
If principles are these guiding stars leading us towards something greater.
Okay.
How can you use your own values to navigate the choices you face in your own life?
That's a good one.
It's something to think about.
It is. It is.
It's not about easy answers.
No.
But it's about that journey.
It's that self-reflection.
Of self-reflection.
Making sure your actions and your beliefs are aligned.
Yes. And always striving for something more.
This has been a good one.
This deep dive.
We've gone deep.
We really have.
On the nature of principles.
We've grappled with hypocrisy.
Figured out how to navigate this
crazy world.
This crazy world we live in.
It's a lot to consider.
It is. What's sticking with you?
What's resonating with me, it's that reminder that a principled life is a journey.
It is a journey, not a destination.
Not a destination. It's ongoing.
Keep going.
And it takes courage and humility.
It does.
And it's about holding on to those ideals.
Even when
things get tough. Yes, well said.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this.
Give it to me.
What small step can you take today to align your actions with your values?
Love it.
Remember, even the most remarkable journeys begin with a single step.
They do.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep diving